All right.
There we go.
And we're live. Yeah, it worked. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. You're joined by Leah Catullo tonight. We've got a great show. We're going to talk about all things flying, mostly free flying, hopefully, but probably some paragliding with motors on your back too. You're not going to want to miss this show. It's going to be a great time. Glad you're here. Glad you're logging in. If you're checking in or you're logging in from the, maybe you went to the website and you're logging in from there, or maybe somebody sent you this, or maybe you're just checking on the podcast. I'm glad that you're here. So thank you for watching. Want to say I appreciate everybody who's been supporting the show on Patreon and PayPal. You make the show possible. And there's some new expenses potentially coming my way. So the show is making way. It looks like I'm going to have to go to Elon Musk and get the old Starlink, because the internet people here in Southern California cannot figure it out. So I'm going to have to go to the stars. So that's going to be a new cost. So your Patreon money is going to support that and keep the show going. Literally, it will keep the show alive. Amen. So also want to just encourage you to support our sponsors. There's a few sponsors. One of those is PPG Smoke. PPGsmoke.com is the website. They've got all kinds of really cool stuff for your flying. If you want to add to your flying gear, they have great stuff. PPGsmoke.com. Ryan Roberts sent out an email today that you can order. There's like an open period of time to order the new headsets. And he's got some really good things. I'm not going to go on all the details, but go on his website and check them out. So it's the Unity headset, really good setup, and it sounds like he's worked out all the kinks. So we're really excited about that. PPGsmoke.com. Also want to mention a couple of other sponsors. One of those is Dreamlifter Paramotors.com. That's our friend Harley Milne, who has a school now here in Southern California. Go check out his website, Dreamlifter Paramotors.com. Also, Andrew Fuller is now repairing gliders along with SIV clinics and other things. Check out his website. There'll be a link in the description, but it's paraglider-inspection.myshopify.com. And the link, I had to fix the link. Hopefully it works. Gringo's dropping that in the chat as we speak. So really appreciate that. Also, paramotorprops.com is a place you can get new props. I actually need to buy another one. I need a freshie, but I've been rebuilding mine because I'm cheap and it's dangerous. It's not for everybody. Don't try to rebuild your own. You might burn up your motor. If you don't want to do that, just paramotorprops.com. They got great deals on the interwebs. Leah, so glad that you're here. Really appreciate you taking the time to come. I know you're a busy lady, and you've got all kinds of things. I saw a video and it inspired me to reach out to you to have you on the show again. Want to mention, if you guys don't know who Leah Catullo is, she's an Ozone team pilot. She flies Vitarazi MacFly setup. She's a US PPA competition chair, and also she's a US FAI SEMA delegate. So she's got all kinds of things on her belt, and there's many more things. We're going to talk about all the different things that she brings to the flying community. Most recently, and what I was mentioning is that she actually has solidly added infinite tumble to her flying acro runs. Yeah. And so I saw the video. I'm like, no way. And if it's not terrifying enough without a motor on your back, then you add a motor in your back and do that. We were talking about this at work today, and I was like, it's like a flying sky blender, and it is incredible. So anyways, so stoked. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Let's start off by maybe talking about, for people that don't know, how you came into the sport. Talk about how you got enlisted into paramotoring and even free flying. Now we were having some really good discussions pre-show about free flying. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
So I don't know. I started flying paramotors like 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. I don't know. Trained with Eric DeFore. Some people know him, some don't. Kind of the grandfather here, and one of the grandfathers in the U.S. I fly a lot. So, well, I used to fly sometimes morning and evening, even if I was working. Obviously, living in Florida, I get to fly all year long. So my first couple of years, I probably logged way, way more hours than the average pilot. Kind of scared a lot of people. My progression was pretty fast, doing tricks already before the end of my first year. And then somewhere in my second year, I stalled a glider on my own on motor. I'm not telling anybody ever to try that. Oh, the whole free flight thing, I did it, and it's the same reason why I got into paramotor. I grew up flying airplanes. My dad owned airplanes, but I really wanted to do tricks, aerobatics, and he wasn't into that, and I never could afford an airplane. And then one day I saw somebody doing tricks on a paraglider, and like, oh, well, look at that. I figured it would be cheaper. Little did I know then that I would have spent as much money as I've spent in my flying career. The joke is, how much is it to get in? I'm like, you don't want to know how much I've spent since.
Yeah,
But it's just like,
8 wings, 4 motors. Could have bought 2 airplanes by now.
oh, easily, right? But I always wanted to do tricks. So as soon as I figured out that doing real acro on motor was not a safe progression, I decided, okay, it's time to go free flying. My first free flights were in Sarnano in Italy. I was visiting Viterazzi and went out to the mountain, bombed out immediately on the first run. The second run, I stayed up for a few minutes and then bombed out.
Where was this at?
Sarnano. It's kind of southwest of where Viterazzi is. Basically in the middle of the country, in a small mountain, nothing special.
Who'd you go with?
Minyard was there.
Oh, okay.
It was, I think, one of the first trips. We didn't travel together. We just always ended up in all the same places. We did stay together during the whole Viterazzi days, and then we split up, and then we hooked back up at Kupikar, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, because I went to Melchesene on Lake Garda, basically that big site, and I spent time there doing tricks. That's where my first major fuck up excuse my language. Oh, there goes the swear jar.
There it goes. $10. We got a winner, folks.
That was my very first mess up where I had spaghetti lines.
So you were trying to do a certain maneuver, and then all of a sudden,
yeah, I don't even remember what I was working on back then, but it just, I think I was trying to do sat to heli, but I was getting so aggressive. I think I spun the entry to the sat, and I have a picture somewhere of all the spaghetti coming at my face.
Oh gosh.
It was okay. I stayed dry on that trip. And I stayed dry in Turkey too. Not everybody stayed dry. Some people even swam 3 times in 1 week.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody on a guy on a pink glider. I'm not gonna name names. But so Acro was always sort of where I wanted to go. I was hanging out with Andy. We were towing. I was practicing there. And then little did I know, I ended up with some PTSD. Took a 1.5 years off of flying negative acro tricks. In fact, I didn't do much flying at all. I stopped flying for a couple months, even paramotor. My first flight, flying at the beach, and I felt like the sky was coming down on me. And the only way I could fly is if I was doing some, positive maneuvers. And then I just landed because I wasn't going up to enough altitude. And really, I wanted to be working on negative maneuvers. I landed and I realized, okay, at least I know I can fly, but definitely had PTSD. Just nothing would flow. So went on a few trips, went to Egypt, went to Iceland, basically photo stuff, cross country on motor, nothing special. Back to France. While I was in France, I guess after I got the PTSD, I did go to Argania. I forced a top landing and stalled the left side of my wing 1 foot off the ground and broke my wrist. That was another reason why I stopped flying.
Wait,
So
how did that happen on launch?
no, I was forcing a top landing. There's so
Oh,
much
okay.
lift there that if you don't get it right, you basically have to come in underneath launch in
Yep.
order to top land there. I mean, and
Yeah.
if the window's so tiny, and if you miss it, you just go back to the top of the mountain, or you have to push
Yeah.
out and land in the valley. So
That's
I,
how
I'm
Blossom was.
forcing it, and it's not a very deep launch. You can't. Everything about it, the vertical window and the front to back window, it's just tiny. I did some uh, side top landings there, which most people do. Just some crosswind, even landing on your butt, because it works. Otherwise, you got to hike back up. But needless to say, I had to take time off for that too. So then I ended up in France on my thermaline glider, and I just stuck I took an SIV with all of a sudden I'm forgetting names. But either way, I took 1 day SIV because I wanted to see if my wrist could handle stalling the glider, and it did. And then I guess I started getting the ball rolling again. Didn't realize how timid I still was. So fast forward until last month, Blaze decided, or had been asking me to come and hang out with Rise Paragliding. And I knew more than anything.
What?
Yeah. You didn't know about that?
No.
Why I was in Turkey. So I
What
I
the heck?
decided I was gonna go and do it because maybe maybe Theo DeBlick would clean up my heli or something like that. I get some like little clean because my heli was inconsistent. Still, my direct heli entry is still pretty inconsistent, even though I can hit heli. It's just so I did clean it up a bit, and
What glider are you? By the way, John Wayne donated $20 to the super chat. Thanks, John Wayne. I appreciate that. What wing are you doing without a motor training? Like in Turkey, you don't
no,
typically get to play
that's an
around with them.
Acro glider, Air G Emily.
Oh, the Air G Emily. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a pretty popular one. So what size? Like a 18?
No, I size back up to a 20.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Because I'm still in like PTSD mode.
Right,
And
right.
so I was working on tricks, struggling with my heli, making it super consistent. And then I moved on to doing Misty and then Mac Twist, which I love because they're high energy maneuvers. And Cesar was coaching me, and he's like, "You're just better when things go crazy anyway. So stop with the technical stuff. We just started working on hard stuff." And then he's like, "Come on, we're gonna tumble." So I'm like, "Yeah,
Wow.
I'm all for it." and I showed him some videos of what I do on motor wings, like a reflex glider. He goes, "You're basically tumbling." I go, "I know. I just have to get used to this big giant wing." And because I fly 16 meters on motor, that's like my go-to size. It's just a 16-meter reflex
Gosh,
glider.
so
And
tiny.
yeah, I'm used to the speeds. I'm used to everything about that size. So it's a little intimidating with this giant glider that's moving slow, and I'm starting to pump it up into the tumble, and it's just like slow. And of course, I mistime it, and the glider folds up, and I basically high five my glider on the way down.
Oh no.
And
Oh.
and I'm back to flying immediately. It shock loads, and I'm flying straight. And I come in and I land, and I said, "Holy cow. I think I needed that, because
Oh my
I'm ready to
gosh.
go now." And it was like all that PTSD and worry about me screwing up. And because, see, I watched somebody get gift wrapped and fall from 1,000 feet. So, and they didn't survive. And
Oh no.
stacking gift wrap in a month I watched. So I'm like, well, everybody talks about it. I just saw 2 in a month. Maybe this is something that people don't really talk about a lot, and it's actually quite common. And just, it's the thing that you don't talk about in paragliding, because it's like some bad omen to talk about it. And
Right.
so I kind of got into my own head, but once I fell through, past the glider, I'm like, sweet, no problem. So then the next couple of days I was on my own, and I'm like, I'm going to just do direct entries, because that's my go-to on a paramotor anyways. I do direct dynamic set entries that are basically at 11 o'clock. I have to me, my greatest video is a video somebody took at some small fly-in real close to my house, where I did a reversal to a direct dynamic entry at 11 o'clock, and I go over so slowly, and the wing is perfect. I'm like, it doesn't get better than that on a reflex glider. And I showed that to Cesar, that particular video, and then I ended up having that tumbling that I did, and I said, all right, I'm good. And that same day I hit Mac twist to heli, Misty to heli. It was like I couldn't mess up.
Wow.
Direct entry helis, twisters, and I'm like, holy cow, can't believe I'm on. So, I'm older than most of these kids that I'm hanging out with, starting to finally get tired, but I'm flying every day, hanging with them every day, not at night, definitely going to bed. And
Yeah.
um,
That's how I
I don't
feel.
know how many days before my trip was over, but I'm up there. I'm kind of tired. My arms are killing me, and I'm just doing heli practice. And I'm really slow. I'm kind of screwing things up. Nothing's nice and clean. And then all of a sudden, my wing slaps me in my face, knocks my helmet back. My sunglasses are gone. And I'm like, Emily just slapped me. I think she's telling me I need to go land. Then it was a forced 2 days off, because then the weather came in. But I was, in the very last day I was going to fly, we were kind of fighting weather. I decided I'm going to go up one more time. And somebody walked up to me and like, when do you leave? I said, tomorrow. And they're like, have you gotten wet yet since you've been here? I said, no. And they're like, the weather's not perfect. You think you're gonna end up going swimming. If you go up one more time, you're gonna go swimming. And then I'm like, okay, I'll pack up. And then I see everybody walking like they're gonna go back up. And you guys are going up? Or like, no, but they're all smiling. I said, you're just trying to keep me from one more flight. Actually, the weather ended up getting worse. Nobody really did fly that day. Well, there's some people did,
Oh,
but I ended up dry. And it would have been
Nice.
horrible to come home with wet gear because it wouldn't have dried overnight. And then my luggage
Right.
never showed up to my house for like a week. So it would have been rotten by the time I got here. So it's really smart for me not to go, and I would have probably gotten wet. You know, eke out one more maneuver. I've got altitude, one more maneuver.
At that point, it would
Do you
have
see
been a
that?
science experiment, you know?
Yeah. Let's see if we can grow mushrooms on a wing. They did you see that video of Eagle testing his glider in the rain and then in the dryness where he's full stalling?
Yeah, I just saw that. Was that today? I saw it on Instagram. I
Very
kind of like
fascinating.
the reactions.
It's like, oh, I just grabbed the A's. I'm like, ah, in the middle of it, like it's he. If you see the video, he's like full stalling on a dry glider. He's like, the stall point is much farther along, and then he's like, it's wet, and his arms are only right here, and then all of a sudden it's like, and he has to fix it. And he has to reach up and grab the A's and like stomp on speed bar real quick. Oh, it wasn't very high either. Like, no. That dude knows his gliders so well. If you guys haven't been paying attention, the X Alps started up. Go watch that Red Bull X Alps 2023. It is amazing. They fly. If you don't know what that is, they fly, hike, or run from Monaco to Salzburg, or vice versa, from Salzburg to Monaco. It's over 1,000 kilometers of flying over the Alps. It's incredible.
Now,
Bunch of turn points, really fun.
For those people that don't know about it, where would they go or perhaps look into looking at to be able to find information on it or to look it up? You know what I mean? Where they could see
I
it.
always just go straight to Google, but I think it's Red Bull X Alps. Probably
Okay.
redbullxalps.com. I don't
And they
know.
have,
Maybe you guys can dig it up.
there's live
I got
tracking
really,
for everybody and every race basically.
it's really unique. When you do find the website, you can live follow every pilot and you can see where they're at on the turn points and on the track. It's really fun. Also, I wanted to mention one of our sisters, Flying Flamingo Jade, had an incident. She got locked into a spiral and pounded in. She broke her hip, femur, and had a brain bleed and some other complications. So she went into surgery yesterday. She's in recovery. She's still in intensive care, but she's actually watching tonight. So I want to just encourage you guys to keep her in your prayers for speed recovery. And also something you don't think about often is the family. So Eric also, he's got now double the workload. Pray for him too. And so Godspeed to you. So glad that you're here watching, Jade. So Jade actually recently took my brother, or Eric actually took my brother up on a tandem for his first time. Now he's all hooked. He's in the chat too. He wants to fly. So we're going to get him dialed in, get him a training harness and get him ground handling right away. And then he'll be flying before long. Let's spin the wheel a little bit early, Sean? It's a good place for a
That's an
break.
interesting twist, but yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do that.
Let me get this screen thing down here.
While he's setting
By the
that
way,
up, Leah,
yeah,
Shane Wyman,
go ahead,
at
Andy.
what age did you start flying paramotors?
Uh,
Can't ask that.
42, probably.
Yeah, she's not that old. She's
Thank
lying.
you.
Okay, officially now no more names in the wheel. And I know we're on a delay, so by the time they hear it, I've already, cut it off. So nah.
Age is just
Want to mention American Allied. What was that, Leah?
I said age is just a number. In my family, I'll live over 100, so I'm technically younger
That's
than
right.
my number anyways.
Yeah, yeah, you're still a baby. American Allied Drains and Plumbing. If you are in San Diego, unfortunately, they only serve Southern California. But American Allied Drains and Plumbing is a service company for your plumbing needs. If you mention Paragliding Talk when you're checking out or when you call them, they will give you 10% off. It can be a lot of money. 10% off of certain things can be a fortune. So check them out if you're in San Diego. Also want to mention Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden, he runs a school in Nebraska, and it's, I mean, prime time right now to sign up and get some training. Or maybe you want to just kind of get some lessons. He's got just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to flying, and just a great network. Go ahead and spin that wheel, Sean. Tonight we're going to give away some trinkets and maybe a bumper sticker, paraglidingtalk.com bumper sticker, and I'll even throw in a USPPA sticker, and got all kinds of stuff. We're gonna get these things out here. And also
my paraglidingtalk.com buff goes with me on every trip.
nice.
Every
I might
trip.
have to.
I don't know
have
if
to-
I have to get pictures of it, but it's on at least one flight of every trip.
That's awesome. There's a few people that I see wearing them at Tory every once in a while. I'll look, give them the little wink, like, yeah, paraglidingtalk.com. Yeah. My screen is frozen, so you're gonna have to tell me who wins. I'm just waiting to hear the
It's
noise.
a close one. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Looks like
2023, and I can't get internet.
Congratulations, Trevor Steele.
No way.
You
Oh.
are a winner. Yes, sir. Trevor Steele.
Yeah. All right. Trevor Steele, winner chicken dinner. Congratulations. Please go to the website paraglidingtalk.com and go /contact. Give me your information and where you want me to send your bag of goodies. And I'll throw some special stuff in there. So appreciate you watching, Trevor. Also, there was, what was I going to say? Yeah. So it's the season for thermals to start ramping up. I flew on Monday night or Tuesday night. Sorry. When we launched, it was booming. I went from launch to like 3,500 feet above sea level in like 2 minutes. You can do the math. I don't know what that was, but it was insane. And it reminded me that we need to be on our summer behavior, which is at Blossom, don't launch before 5, and unless you're ready to get your butt kicked. And then also those thermals are going to be sharp. When the high pressure days get in here, now we're talking about sharp thermals, and so be on your best behavior. Summer is upon us. I don't know about San Diego. I feel like we're still in winter somehow. The last couple of days have been so cold. Gringo yesterday had an event. Gringo, can you share what happened? I think it's worth sharing with everybody since it's so immediate and it was so terrifying.
You sure you don't? I'd rather. I'll do it next week. I'll do it.
No,
next week.
please.
No,
No. This is like a public service announcement. If you don't share it, I'm gonna share it. Gringo
Yeah.
got his freaking throttle. It went through the lines or hit the little gap in the back of his motor, and it went into the prop. And when your throttle cable goes through the prop, guess what happens? The cable gets bent and it's trapped in that full throttle position, and you can't turn it off.
Pretty much, yeah.
Think
Pretty much.
about that. Okay, so now what do?
I was at
I mean-
1,500 feet, and I got to another 1,500 feet to about 3,000 feet over Delmar Fairgrounds, and when you go up that high, you can see a lot more outs. That's a good thing. But I figured I got probably about an hour and a half left of fuel, So I was probably going to hit, 12 grand or something if I didn't figure something out. But fortunately,
Going to the moon, bro.
yeah. Fortunately, I looked over. I could tell that I thought I severed it at first, but it just put a big kink in it. It was an L shape. Fortunately, it did. I tested the kill switch and it killed the motor, but I let it go again so I can at least reach to where I wanted to bail out and yeah. So it was exciting. You can't help but think.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what am I'm going up. I'm just going up. And you can't really do a whole lot unless you can kill the motor. And any of the hard turns, you're just doing acro at that point. So not a whole lot, little big ears maybe or something, but yeah. So I'm gonna put a little device on my fuel line that's gonna kill it.
So Leah will know what that device is called. She's in the medical field.
So
what
on
Anthony's
the IV, right? You have an IV or something, the drip, there's a little
Yeah.
plastic thing that you can push and it clicks and it pinches off the tube, so
I actually can't think of the name of it. It's a clamp, but I don't know what the exact name is. But
it's really, really simple. I thought about it a long time ago.
The roller clamp.
Yeah,
I guess that's what we call them, roller
Yep.
clamp.
I think you're right. I remember seeing the word roller. But what's funny is, no, it's not funny, is look, when you fly, I fly with a reserve, and every time I go up, I try to practice muscle memory and grab the handle and know where it's at. And my throttle, many times, I've looped it back purposely while I've got it on my back on the ground and the motor's not running, and I can see where it's going. And it loops and it actually lays flat up against the net. So I felt really confident that I'm never really going to have any problem with it. And I must have just relaxed and, stowed my brakes and put my arms down, and it just went in. And it's a little scary. It's frightful, man. It wakes you up a little bit, and you start to strategize and figure out what you need to do to fix it.
I usually cut all my throttles down so they're just a little bit longer than my arm.
Yeah.
Which doesn't do well for resale, but I also use a PAP throttle that goes over the top of my arm instead of underneath where it's just hanging. And it's all for that particular reason. But let's go back to the reserves. I got some, I think differently about reserves now. I've thrown only one reserve in battle, every other, I don't know, countless reserves for fun. But everybody's using steerables as their primary. And in Acro, everybody has at least two. So steerable is your primary, and then you have a round or a square, whatever, square round as your secondary. So now I want to know, what is everybody carrying as their primary? And
I only fly with one. I should probably, if I'm going to be doing any acro, get another one on deck. And you can always have that one that you clip to your carabiners that adds like a kind of a front mount. But what's your go-to?
Oh, I have a beamer as my primary, and then I have a square for secondary. And that's why I have that on. I have two on my motor. I had been flying with one because I wasn't doing anything crazy, but now I'm going back to working on acro tricks on motors, so I'm back to two. Do you remember the video of the guy who was in Argana and he threw both reserves into his glider? He was coming down with a streamer. It was last year.
You're not talking about
Kevin
Phillip?
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out with Kevin in Turkey, and he had another similar event, and it really, really made me start thinking about what's important. And So some people even carrying 3. I guess if you are doing tricks that you keep getting twisted up on, but I am probably going to end up with a 3RS for my Acro harness. So cutaway system plus 2 reserves.
No way.
Yeah, I just sold
Wow.
my other cutaway harness. It just went out yesterday. Went to Hawaii. And I
know
just
some guys in
I'm trying
Hawaii.
to, because of Kevin and sitting there talking with him and how he threw 2 reserves in to the lines, he luckily had the altitude and the wherewithal and the fight to get it sorted before he hit the ground. But so yeah, reserves are like this new thing that I'm concentrating on, as far as everybody else making sure how many motor pilots that I know that don't fly with the reserve, and then they started flying with the reserve because of me, and here I am, I just bumped it up and now I fly with 2 reserves on my motor.
Yeah, so you
Because
better get at least one now.
yeah, because now 1 is none and 2 is 1, right?
That's
And
right.
but now that I see everybody basically flies with the steerable for their primary, I can see why. Because the event's going to always happen in the most inopportune place and time. And so you saved your life and then you're in more trouble because of this drifting reserve. When I threw in battle in Organia, I had this cravat on a glider that every time I'd let it out, I was in full stall, and every time I'd let the glider out, because of the cravat, the glider just started spinning, and I couldn't get the cravat out. So I had to make the choice of just, throw, because it was running out of altitude. I was lucky. I landed on a flat, clear rock. My glider and my reserve landed on the other flat, clear rock, and the only 2 on the mountain. Otherwise, who knows where I would have landed. I just got really, really lucky. So now I think to myself, I hope I never have to throw the second one, because I want to be able to stare wherever I go. And I think a lot of people don't want to fly steerable or have steerables as their reserve, because 1, they're more expensive, and then 2, nobody knows, or they don't know
How to pack them. Yeah.
right? Well, I've seen Theo DeBlick pack them in like under 10 minutes. It was just so, once the lines were sorted, right? And the glider is lined up and it was just doing folds, and I'm like, that is so easy. Why am I even worried about it? Because if you watch like the Beamer videos, it's a slightly different technique than what Theo was using, because how many people went swimming or threw a round reserve and kept their steerable in the container because they didn't want to have to use it, and then they still got wet, so then you had to dry out the steerable. But I guess my public service announcement is get everybody to learn how to pack their own steerables, because
I like that.
it can be done so easily. I've witnessed it so many times, and you can basically in Aludinese, you can fly to the beach. If you're flying to the beach, you just land on the beach, and it's like all you have to do is worry about folding up a reserve. No big deal.
Yeah. Right.
As opposed to picking for the boat, being wet, drying all your gear out, everything else.
I remember we've had a couple shows in the past talking about the cutaways and how those can go very wrong if a certain part of the whole procedure is not taken seriously. Do you practice a cutaway or is this something that you just mentally prepare yourself for?
You don't have to. There's some rules. You can't have any lines on you. They're really basically best for when the glider's all twisted up or you're in auto rotation. But your lines are tight and you just cut away from the mess that you know you're never going to fix. So, but if there's lines that got loose and are wrapped on you, it's not going to work. And hence the reason for me selling my old harness and getting ready to buy a 3RS, so one parachute and 2 reserves, because if I have lines all on me, I'm down. I can't use the base, so I have to throw a reserve. But once again, one is none, right? So have to have 2. So I sold the Raul Rodriguez harness, and it only had like 3 flights on it. And now I realize Raul Rodriguez isn't even using his own harness. That isn't even that old anymore. Because we're learning, because you really only have 1 reserve. You have a base rig and 1 reserve. So what do you really have? Because the base doesn't work in certain situations. But the base is nice. It's even better than a steerable. Because now you just get away from your mess and you go fly wherever you want. But somebody got a really good deal on that harness. That's all I have to say. And it came with the base canopy. I just got rid of it.
And what can somebody just, I mean, obviously that's not a very common thing to buy cutaway harnesses for Acro. What's your recommendation for those guys that are like, you know what, I do want to take it to the next level? Where do you look to buy a base setup?
So Acro guys, they're all starting to switch to cutaways. Yeah. Because they know it's just one more added layer of protection. Sure. But if somebody's getting into Acro, everybody should pretty much just get the Super Acro 4 right now. It's the most standard. I'll be selling that too. If I can get rid of 3 more gliders, I'll sell my Acro harness, because I'll be close enough. The bill for the new cutaway won't hurt so bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What does that cost?
About $2,500 for the harness, and then another $2,500 for the canopy.
Oh my gosh.
It's the 2 reserves.
Yep.
So,
wow. There was a question from Shane Wyman. He said, with Leah being a seasoned acro pilot, what's her advice for a 3rd-year pilot wanting to learn wingovers? Is it safe to do alone?
oh, guys, so yes and no, but it all depends on the particular pilot. Everything I did was baby steps, like tiny baby steps, but I flew a lot. So to an outsider, it looked like I was just taking big risks. So my wingovers started in tiny little wingovers, but I had a couple rules how I started. I basically was practicing 180 turns, and those 180 turns kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was always both sides, left and right. I never did those asymmetric spirals. I have always avoided spirals with a passion. Mostly because if you see me doing spirals, it's because I screwed something up. I wasn't ready. So I just, that's my absolute, last go-to move to bleed off energy. I never want to use them. So I thought asymmetric spirals, yeah, it's a good training technique. Obviously, you learn those in SIV too. But to start baby wingovers, yeah, most people who are just starting, nobody ever goes big unless they're stupid. and there's not a whole lot of stupid pilots out there. And most of the stupid pilots out there have gotten to be incredibly good pilots. Yeah, I don't know all their accidents, but you know, they've taken their risks, gotten scared. But knowing a few people who can do big wing overs and do them well, cleanly, especially big wing overs on big gliders, ask those people to at least watch. Because most people, paragliding, nobody really, if I'm talking to a paramotor pilot, they don't really know what real weight shift is. They think they know what weight shift is, but they don't. And so, and then outside pressure, they never really know what that is because we fly these heavily loaded paramotor wings, reflex gliders that barely lose pressure. But you fly paragliders. I'm sure you've done the wing overs, and your first ones, the glider kept pulling on you. And you're like, I really have to pull that much brake to do a wing over?
Yep.
Um,
And if I could add to that, I think what's really important to start off on your wing overs is to, and somebody shared this with me, and I don't remember who it was, but start weight shift only. So keep your hands where you're at. Now, this is depending on what glider you're flying. Obviously, I fly an Alpina, so I'll start into this side, and then you'll feel when it's time to throw the weight to the other side, and get your timing with your weight shift first. You have no idea how much energy you can build up with just weight shift, and then go to your adding brake. And I think that's this.
That's an excellent point. And that's kind of what I was getting at with the paramotor pilots don't know weight shift. We have a guy, self-trained, actually a very good pilot too, self-trained. He wanted to learn wing overs, and we were flying together and noticed he wasn't doing any weight shift. All his turns are nice and flat. So we landed. I said, hey, we're going to go fly again. Just do weight shift. So I'm up there flying with him, and I got my hands locked straight up, holding the risers so he can see. And I start doing weight shift wing overs. But you can see my arms are locked on the risers as high as I can have them. And I'm doing big old weight shift, and I looped the damn glider.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
The glider took, I was getting it down below the horizon and everything, but it hit a point where it just gained more energy. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was possible on this wing.
Wow.
It's a small glider, but I wanted to show him what weight shift would do. And I'm like, that was all weight shift. Of course, I'm hanging all the way outside the risers, trying to be very dramatic because we're both flying. I want to make sure you can see it all the way out, all the way out, all the way out. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoop. So I ended up doing that on purpose. But that first time my brakes were stowed. Just trying to show him, like, I'm not touching anything. I'm not sneaking in brake. And goes, you're using your motor. I stow the throttle, motor's off. So just trying to show the same idea. And I flew with him last Sunday, and he's still not weight shifting a lot. His wing overs look good, but he's not weight shifting a lot. So we'll see where he gets to. But he's all self-trained. Yeah. And he's taking baby steps too. I
kind of learned backwards. So I really appreciate weight shift now. I should have listened a little more closely because people told me about it, and I just kind of was like, yeah, I'm fine.
Well, don't you use, when you're making thermal turns, do you do the whole opposite weight shift?
Absolutely.
And I love the opposite weight shift on a rock face. And I feel like the glider's sliding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you've got, if you're able to play, see, typically when I'm flying, it's like glass off and the last helicopter out of Vietnam. So if you don't catch that thermal, you're going to be missing the chance to cross the valley and go play. So there's a certain amount of like conservative. I'm maintaining I'm looking to stay alive on a butterfly fart. I'm trying to just maintain. But if you've got nice, strong stuff all out there, it's amazing the things you can get away with. And then it's also amazing what your glider wants to do compared to what you're telling it to do.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between an OG pilot that's thermal flying or cross country flying and somebody who has a nice cross country wing and pod harness and shows up. It's important to, that having that just right. And I still haven't mastered it. Finding that there is a perfect sweet spot that you can find in every thermal, whether it's strong or soft or whatever. Yeah. That's my everyday. Leah was telling me before the show started that she's been thermaling and doing some learning how to stay in the thermals. We were talking about falling out of the back. I want to mention something before we go into that topic. This show is brought to you by Lone Star Paramotor. Lone Star Paramotor, they have a school, and that's in Texas, obviously. But if you want to get some training, Ron Turan has his school. There's a website. It's lonestarparamotor.com. Go there, sign up, get some training, and you will not be disappointed. They have a great organization over there. Also want to mention Acro. Max Marion has these SIV clinics that he does now, and some of them he does like once a year. He'll do something in Turkey, or he'll do something in, I think he did one in Guatemala. And there's just a great vibe. I've done my SIV with him. It is incredible what you take away from those. So if you want to do that, jump on with those, get signed up. maxacro.com is the website. That's maxacro.com. And it's very relative. The cost is incredibly worth it. When you look at long term, you will be absolutely pleased. No one could convince me to go and do it. I finally signed up. I was convinced I didn't need SIV. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. And I'm so glad that I did. So maybe take my word for it. Go try it out. I'll also want to mention Resurgence PPG.
Let me interject. Everybody needs
Sure.
SIV.
Yeah.
SIV and Acro courses, it's like a spectrum, right? And there's way better pilots than me who were still in the Rise SIV course because they were getting Theo or Cesar in their ear. Plus, you get their personal phone number, and you can now send them a video. What did I do wrong? And they'll take a couple moments, and they're like, "You were a half a second too early, 2 centimeters." But did you see the weight shift? So you're getting coaching and mentorship at a different level when you get to that level. So I definitely see pilots who don't do SIV think they don't need SIV, but then when you actually see all the SIV courses and all the pilots, and you see there's very good Acro pilots still getting coaching. And in the Acro world, even if you're not in an SIV course, you're still showing your videos to all the better pilots who are still giving you all the tips, which is, you get to a point where being on radio is not necessarily a good thing for you anyways, but you're still doing debriefings the same way with people who actually know what they're talking about. And when you pay somebody, like if you went with Max to Turkey, you're getting an introduction to that flying site if you've never been there, kind of set up and how things work, because Turkey's not easy. There are some rules that you can't get up the mountain if you didn't set up your account and all this other stuff. But if Max will be in your back pocket for life at that point, and that's the cool thing. You're creating, he's still an Acro pilot. He's got the same mindset as all the rest of us. So once you've done a course with him, I'm sure you send him a text, you throw him a video, and he's like, it only takes 2 seconds to watch a trick. It's not that big of a deal. That's the important part of SIV. Or for me, look, I got rid of my PTSD so I could, by falling through my glider. And I got to watch, I couldn't even tell you how many regalos folded. I think just watching the regalos being folded was worth every penny. I haven't repacked my own regalo yet, but I'm almost positive I can do it without a doubt, without any reserve or reservation, I should say.
Yeah, that is something I've been preaching for a long time. I really appreciate you saying that, because I haven't heard a whole lot of people say that. And I think it's because the guys who may have cornered the niche on cracking $100 bill for a repack or whatever, they don't want to let the secret out. But I think you should know your gear as good as you need to be able to repack your glider. When you landed on that rock, by the way, you said you landed on a rock, your glider fell on the other rock. Did you relaunch from there?
Oh no, those are some of the most evil bushes all around me. Thorns that were an inch and a half. The bushes are covered in thorns. There was blood. I had pants on, and my pants were covered in blood by the time I got back out.
Oh,
Because
brutal.
how many times I got stabbed. It's absolutely evil on the side of that mountain. So if I would have fallen and rolled over, it would have been like a crown of thorns,
Oh.
But no, I just went back up to launch and then packed my reserve in the shade, windy. I used rocks and stuff. I bet you there's still rocks in that reserve.
Yeah. Yeah, you throw it out and a big dust pile comes out. Dust cloud.
Yeah, no, that's when you pack up somebody's reserve. You just put a ton of glitter in there.
Yeah. We were flying at Palomar, and this guy had some kind of event, and I didn't see it. I wish I would have been paying attention, but he lost his whole glider, went away, and then it popped open, and it blasted open, and it had a bunch of blossom dust on it. And when it popped, it was like poof, and the guy said that it looked like a cartoon of smoke came out of the glider. And so it can happen. I can just imagine the glitter.
There's a split second when the dust comes off the glider. It looks just like the glider.
Oh yeah, I've
You
heard
know-
that too. Yeah.
I mean, it's gone.
Yep.
You would think it would be kind of hard to dismiss that. You come back from a hard day of flying, and your wife's like, "Where'd you get that glitter on you?" Well, I was just flying. I was just flying. And every time you go flying, you end up with a little bit of glitter on you. And then, by the time you do if you do have to toss the laundry, maybe you won't have any more glitter left. I mean, yeah.
You just put glitter in your pee tube. So every time you pee, it's raining a little bit of glitter.
That's when you know you had a good day. Just pea glitter. I gotta dial up my my cross country stuff. I need to work less and fly more. Summer is here.
Get new gear. So I got the Strike 2 pod harness, that's super light stuff.
Nice.
My because I tell everybody, I don't do hike and flies. Because a lot of people, why did you buy all that light stuff? Like, you don't seem like a hike and fly kind of person. I'm like, no, but I'm guaranteed to do a flying hike.
That's right.
And that is why
right.
I have this tiny little super light gear. But I was sick and tired of getting, I'm hoping it's heavy enough that I don't freeze anymore. Like, I get so cold. And I'm hoping
that's important.
just enough that I can stay up a little bit longer without saying I'm coming down, I'm too cold.
Too cold. I had one of those. It was cold on Tuesday. Yeah. Well, we're at the end of the show. We're going to go to the after show. Just want to say, I really appreciate everybody that's watching. Appreciate all your feedback, your questions, comments, everything. You guys are awesome. Support the show on Patreon and PayPal if you want to do that. There's links in the description, also in the chat, and keep the show going. And for the price of a cup of coffee, you can keep something good going like this on the interwebs. I know there's a lot of garbage out there. Thank you for supporting the show, and Leah especially. Thank you so much for making the time to come on the show. Tons of people love to hear what's going on in your life, and I feel like you're a celebrity in the sport. So thank you for taking time to hang out with us for a little bit. If I was there, I'd ask for an autograph. If you are wanting to follow Leah, you can follow her on Instagram, and she's on all the regular social media. What's the most your most active social media platform so they can follow you?
I pretty much only use Instagram now. And it's
You only use Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, but I try to link it and then it to Facebook, but
Doesn't
something
work.
happened now. It's not linking, and I get some message where I can't show Instagram reels on Facebook. I don't know. It's a rule change, I'm sure. But the Instagram's just Leah _ Catullo, my other account that I had.
Okay, so it's not
Oh,
Paragliding
dang it.
Fly Girl, because that says it's not available. But
Did they shut it? Well, I tried to get it to get shut down. I tried to do all kinds of. Yeah, it's just under Leah _ Catullo.
That's
Billy.
awesome.
Yeah, Bill.
Thank you
H.
guys so much. Don't forget to sorry, did I cut you off, Leah?
No, it's okay.
Were you giving your handle?
Yeah.
Want to make sure that they get it so
Somebody
you can
just
follow.
put the wrong handle up. Oh,
I got it. It's in the chat now.
now you got it. Look at those skills.
There you go. Thanks, Gringo. Yeah, so the show's not over. We're just gonna go to the after show. If you want to jump on, there's a link in there. You're welcome to join us. And maybe you got some special questions for Leah. She'll stick around for a few more minutes before she needs to go to bed because she has to get up early. And she's staying up late for the show, by the way, guys. Just letting you know if I know her well enough. And
morning.
What's that?
I wake up at 4.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, I wake up at 5, so I knew.
I tried to stay on Euro time.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, you guys, thank you so much. Moderation team, appreciate you guys. Everybody with a wrench next to your name, you guys are awesome. Thank you. And everybody in the chat, you are the reason why we do the show. Thank you for watching. Have a great night. If I don't see you on the air, I'll see you.